on the line, and Midday Madness 4, wrong fuel extraction. Search up shipcreek.com.au. Aaron in Broadmeadows, you want to talk about a little bit of AFL first, and that's fine. You call, you get on. Anything in the world of sport that moves you enough to pick up your phone, welcome to you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I just wanted to comment on the fact that about 30 years ago, the AFL set a precedent that it was unacceptable to have an AFL venue that was majority standing. This weekend, we've got an AFLW Grand Final in a venue that is majority standing. And then there's also the point that the AFL saying that the Tasmanian team must have a roof for it to be acceptable for AFL football, and yet they're playing at a venue in Queensland that is far, far inferior to the two current stadiums that are currently operating for AFL football and international cricket. So how can the AFL possibly say that a Tasmanian team to play a home and away match must have a stadium worth $750 million of the roof, and at the same time say, oh, it's okay to have a venue with only 800 seats for an AFLW Grand Final? The hypocrisy is just, it's through the roof.
So what would you ask them to do then, Aaron, given that the Brisbane Lions AFLW team won the right to host the Grand Final? They've got the Grand Final. They can't play it at the Gabba. They can't play it at Metricon. Neither of those venues have a roof anyway. We do have a new team coming into the competition in Tasmania. So what we're asking is for them to come in with some infrastructure that is going to be state-of-the-art, as opposed to playing out of old grounds without roofs that might not draw a crowd. So what would you ask the AFL to do in this instance for the AFLW Grand Final? Where would you want them to play it? At Marvel, under the roof? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think there needs to be a criteria that the venue must have at least 70 or 80% seating. There must be some cover for the public. I mean, it might rain on Saturday, and what do you want people to stand in the outer, in the rain or the 30-degree heat? It doesn't have to have a roof. I mean, there's obviously no need to have a roof on a stadium because teams like Collingwood, Carlton, Richmond, Essendon have chosen for decades to play in the ground without a roof. So, and as for the Tasmanian stadiums, the AFL have approved 2 stadiums for the 2023 season. They're saying that's good enough for AFL football. The ICC has just allowed World Cup matches to be played at Hobart. So if the venue in Hobart and Launceston are good enough for the ICC World Cup and for AFL football in 2023, how on earth can they then argue that those 2 grounds are not acceptable for a Tasmanian AFL team, and until the taxpayer builds a stadium, you're not getting a team? It doesn't make any sense at all. If they're
because government contribution is important to keep Tasmania viable and vibrant. Tasmania wouldn't be able to come into the competition without government contribution or without the current 17 clubs paying for a lot of what they're going to do. I mean, it's a bit like how much we have to pay for the Suns at the moment. It's a bit like the expansion teams in general that we've had to pay for, like the Giants. So, I mean, but the stadium roof argument, though, Aaron, the MCG hasn't got a roof. We play the Grand Final there.
Exactly. So, no. I'm saying, as Collingwood, Eddie Maguire saying the Tasmanian team should have a roof. Eddie Maguire, as Collingwood president, chose for Collingwood to play at a ground without a roof.
Yeah.
He could have
so
played
why shouldn't we ask for Tasmania, given the weather in Tasmania, given how cold it is, and if you haven't been to Blundstone Arena, given that the stadium is not state-of-the-art. I mean, Blundstone Arena is not state-of-the-art. Launceston is fantastic, but at the same time, they will be playing games in the open in Launceston when they get a team in Tasmania, Aaron. There's going to be a split of games. They'll probably play 11 home games with an 8-3 or a 7-4 split between Launceston and the roofed venue in Hobart. So there will be playing games at that spectacular stadium in Launceston, which has a great deck. Look, I'm fully in agreement that the Brisbane Lions deserve to host the AFLW Grand Final at this venue. I mean, they deserve to be given a shot, I think, but that's okay. We'll agree to disagree on it. There's a lot of things the AFL does that I disagree on, but I don't mind this one. I mean, give them a chance to host it and have a full house. They've earned the right to have it.
But the competition deserves more than 8,000 people at the venue, and the patrons deserve more than a venue with no cover and no seating. That's my point. And as for it being too cold in Tasmania, if you don't have a roof, it gets pretty cold in Manchester. Manchester United and Manchester City play in venues without roofs, as do Liverpool, Arsenal, Barcelona. If these sides can survive without roofs, why on earth does the Tasmanian team need a roof?
Because they need a state-of-the-art stadium to take us forward, Aaron, rather than playing a stadium that has run its race, really, I think, as an AFL venue, Blundstone Arena, without a major redevelopment. But you and I can disagree on that and be fine with it. I'm happy to disagree with you, and I'm happy to take your point on it. And I'm also happy to be on the side of the Brisbane Lions earning the right to host the grand final. And I'm also happy for people in Victoria to rage and scream about it and say it should be on Icon Park because we'll get a bigger crowd there. But, that's the beauty of the same argument we have in the men's game every year. Does Geelong deserve the right, when they win it, to host a home final? Should the AFL Grand Final be at the MCG? Why not have a final under the roof at Marvel? I mean, it's the same argument we've had. We're just having it in the AFLW space. So I'm happy to have it with you. That's fine. So what's your bottom line? Where would you play it? Icon Park or Marvel, the AFLW Grand Final?
I played in Queensland if they could provide a stadium that had 80% seating and some cover, because there's no cover at the new ground because it might rain. It might be 35
But it's still a
degrees.
sellout. So the Queensland people don't care. They've already sold it out.
Yeah, but 8,000 is not enough people, though. It's a bad look, though. It looks amateurish. If you're watching it on TV,
yeah,
you're going to think, well, what's this amateurish sport? You've got a hill and it looks like...
Would it look better? Would it look better at a 2/3 empty Marvel?
It would look better at Icon Park. Icon Park would be full.
But Melbourne doesn't deserve to host it, though, Aaron. Melbourne hasn't won the right to host the grand final.
But by that logic, Geelong should have played, 15 finals at Geelong in the last 10 years. So the AFL can't... On the one hand, they're saying we can't play at GMHBA Stadium because it's not big enough. But then literally a month later, they're saying, it's okay for Brisbane to play in an 8,000-seat stadium because they've earned the right to host.
Well, they set the precedent 2 weeks earlier by letting Richmond host their home final at Punt Road as well. So they've already set that precedent in the AFLW.
But that precedent, there's been a precedent for like 50 years in the AFL. Collingwood never played finals at Victoria Park. Essendon never played at Windy Hill. So they've gone against the Punt Road decision. That went against 50 years of precedence. So
I don't agree. I don't agree with the Punt Road decision, Aaron. I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
I think they should have played at a bigger venue in Melbourne. But I do believe that Brisbane Lions deserve to host the AFLW Grand Final. I know, I said it yesterday, I'm a one out on this. Outside of Brisbane, there's probably no one else bar me that thinks it's a good idea. But I think it would be unfair if they were forced to play against Melbourne in Melbourne. And I think they deserve to have a chance to make it a ground with some history. It's their new venue. They've built it. So I'm happy with it, Aaron. So hold the line. Got something for you. Got a Signet Boost power bank valued at $59.95. Signet Boost power bank will keep your phone, tablet and earbuds powered 24/7. I'll agree to disagree with you on where it should be held. Then I'll agree to disagree with you on Tasmania needing a stadium with a roof. I mean, it's 2023 now. We want to come into the future, and the MCG will have a roof before I depart my time on this earth. I can guarantee you that too. Mick in Balam, welcome to you, Mick.
G'day,